Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Paul Ochoa. I'm the Executive Deputy Commissioner here at DOT. For 4 years now, I've been called the new Joe Jaron. So I'm hoping by in a few years, I'll be known as just the Executive Deputy Commissioner. I run the administration for the agency. That's a $1.5 billion expense budget, $34 billion 10-year capital budget, human resources, procurement, IT, grants, and a few other units that make DOT be able to deliver what New Yorkers expect from us. That's our roads, our sidewalks, our bridges, our traffic lights, traffic signals, our Staten Island Ferry, everything that we do for the city of New York. Today, we're going to be celebrating historic progress the agency has made in partnership with a lot of you here today. It's been 4 years, or, as my slide calls it, 4 executive plans, 4 adopted budgets, 4 September plans, 4 January plans. And, we went, these 4 years, we had over $700 million in cuts. We had over 200 vacancy reductions. But here we are. I think we've made a ton of progress given pretty tough circumstances for city agencies. And to capture these accomplishments, we're excited to celebrate the release of DOT's new report, Reimagining Transportation. And please grab a copy if you haven't. And it really encapsulates 4 years of just incredible delivery for many, many areas. I think, our teams have reimagined streets and public realm by connecting people, culture, and communities across all the 5 boroughs. We've delivered major advancements in infrastructure and asset management. We've expanded mobility and increased safety through data-driven strategies. Obviously, launching the nation's first congestion pricing program in partnership with the MTA, and of course our new Department of Sustainable Delivery, which we're very excited to be launching. And through all that work, New York City DOT has prioritized a commitment to advancing equity, workforce diversity, and organizational excellence. I hope you're able to take a deeper dive into the report when you get a chance. Today will also be about looking ahead as we transition to a new administration. You will hear from a panel of experts that lead multiple sectors that can discuss how New York City can continue to lead building a safe, sustainable, equitable, and connected city services for all New Yorkers. And to start this conversation, it is my pleasure to introduce a true partner in public service, Mike Flynn, a New York City DOT alum, former capital planning director. He's now a principal at Sam Schwartz and has this tiny task of being a member of the Transition Committee in Transportation, Climate, and Infrastructure for Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. So, Mike, we welcome you to the stage.
Thanks so much, Paul. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. Those of you who know me from my day job, I'll say my caveat. I'm here kind of in a personal role and given my role as part of the Transition Committee. It's nice to be back at DOT. I will say when I worked here, we never used this space. We used the bid room, which is less inspiring. This is really nice. And just to echo what Paul said, it's really important to recognize and celebrate the agency's major successes in spite of what were some pretty significant headwinds over the last 4 years. Regarding the transition process, it's really just ramping up, and I'm sure there'll be more information out there in the weeks to come. I don't have a lot that I can share personally, but it's exciting to be looking ahead. I think the key thing I want to mention is that the DOT team is made up of some of the most hardworking, passionate, and committed public servants that I've worked with. There's no shortage of know-how and ingenuity at the agency. And what that means is that the really important thing is to clear those roadblocks and make it easier to deliver, right? To continue delivering. And that'll certainly be, crucial for the next administration to focus on that. It's obvious things like funding. It's also things like making it easier to hire and promote and retain great talent. But it's also, you know, the stuff that many of us may not think about as much, like the road markings contract capacity, right? Or having enough pickup trucks to go out and install the signals and things like that. So, you know, that's all really crucial. So I appreciate the invite to be here today, and I'm really excited to hear from the panelists.
Thanks, Mike. We're looking forward to what the Transition Committee comes out with. Now, please join me in welcoming President of City College, Vin Bordeaux, the alma mater of Commissioner Rodriguez, and a true partner with the Department of Transportation. You know, we've been partnering with them to create a pipeline of new transportation experts. We are working with CUNY and City College to bring in hundreds of people interested and exposed to transportation careers, not just engineers, but transportation experts, traffic engineers, mechanical engineers. We're very excited with that. And, you know, where's Vin? Here we go, Vin. Please only share the positive stories of Commissioner Rodriguez. I know he was a bit of a troublemaker when he was a student, so. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. Ydanis has heard this. I was about his age when I started teaching at City College, and was the only member of my department who wasn't eligible for early retirement at the time. And so the young students took every class I taught. And Ydanis was with a group of 4 or 5 young Dominicans who really thought seriously and consistently about public service. And one morning, the secretary in our office pulled me aside and said, "You're hanging out with these guys too much. If you want tenure in this department, you've got to establish some distance between yourself and the troublemakers in the department." And so I think about that a lot, that here we are. Who would have known? Ydanis took every class I taught in those days, and in those classes articulated a vision of public service that he has lived every day since then. And it has been a joy to see it. So I'm here both to share that with you, but also to talk about the work that we've done together between City College and DOT, and CUNY and DOT. City College is the home of the University Transportation Institute that brings together engineers and scientists and has a lot to say and to share in terms of expertise. We see ourselves, the Grove School of Engineering, as the engineering school for the city of New York. And so, Mike, if you're listening, in the future, we stand ready to do for the future administration what we have done with great joy and great success with Ydanis and the current administration, which is to build a pipeline of young people that are interested in public service, to convince them that whatever the attractions of the private sector are, there is good, important legacy-building work to be done in the public sector. And really to look at some of the things that Ydanis has done, you know, bringing city streets north to Inwood and Washington Heights and neighborhoods around City College, to think really seriously about the way that transportation issues can be solved for communities that they're often overlooked when you think about where, you know, traffic gets bunched up, where asthma takes place, all these sorts of things. These are important legacies of your administration, and we've been thrilled to work with you on it. And also, I will say, we talk about pipeline into DOT. The pipeline that Ydanis has helped us build doesn't start with graduate students or undergraduate students. It starts with children in the public school systems, working with our STEM Institute. Doris Cintron is here. This is her big project. Working in the public schools, getting prepared for careers and educational trajectories as engineers so that they can serve the city in these capacities. So I want to thank you for the work that you've done. It's been a pleasure to partner with you. And I hope that with us, you can look back at the legacy you've built in DOT with great pride, because we are deeply proud of the work that you've done.
And we thought, let me introduce you, our great commissioner, Ydanis Rodriguez.
Yep. Great. First of all, hi, Yarisa. I hope that you're doing your classes in Syracuse. She's committed that she wanted to watch it since she could be here. That's my daughter, 18 years old, who knew all council members when I used to be a council member. Veronica used to go and testify. And the members of TA, Family for Safe Street, but now she had to go back to her school yesterday. First of all, thank you to my whole family. Friends who have invested in me so many resources, and especially to the mother of my two daughters, Cristina Melendez, who now is a deputy chancellor on parental empowerment, went to the same school at Vince Cornell, and her dedication not only to the city but also helping me during those 2 years that I served as a council member. And my two daughters, from whom I took a lot of time away, to do what we need to do, to keep moving our city. And one thing that the president didn't say was that it's like when we look at the new mayor today, the activist, that was Vince Boudreau when he was at Cornell University. Because I think we all come from those years of being activists. So this is the city. This is a great place that we have been building together. The video that you saw showed the big agency that we really are. Our projects stretch to every corner of the 5 boroughs. And all entity, from hospital, cultural institution, government, private, they all have to come here. Goldman Sachs had to come here to ask how DOT can help them to close the street so that they could cut the time of construction in 2 years. They saved millions of dollars, and that's because the DOT was there as a pro-business institution. I will keep on my talking point, Nick Benson. But first, I want to ask all members of my executive team with whom I meet every week to please stand up. Let's give them a big round of applause. This is a group. A good leader is not about being an engineer or a planner. I was not, neither the previous commissioner, by the way. What an engineer or planner. A good leader is someone who surrounded himself, with great talented people, and that's what we did. When I became a commissioner, I didn't let one person go. I kept every single person that I have in DOT because they do a great job, because they've been doing this job for more than 15 and 20 years. And for me, it's been a great honor. Starting with Margaret Fujon, I want to give her a special thanks. Who overseeing all the 6 operation units. Paul, you heard from him, who also is in charge of budget and finance, IT, and other. Julie Barrow, who also oversees everything related to policy, and from everything that Will and the rest of the team, they put it together, she played that role there. And then Ryan W., he's the one who protect me and protect the agency. One of the best contributions that I can say that I have made to this city is that I've been overseeing a city of billions of dollars, and I've been doing the right way, always following Nancy, Will, and the whole team of lawyers of procurement. So thank you for helping me also to do a good job. I'd like to thank you, and of course, all the deputy commissioner. And I can stop. If I start naming all of you, I will leave someone out, and I want to make that mistake. I do want to acknowledge also Milton Morrison, who is the Minister of Transportation in the Dominican Republic, also came here to participate in this. Commissioner Ross and Michael Garner, who also are here. The Dominican Consul General, also my good friend Chubasque, also thank you for being here. and representative of Council General of many of the Latin American countries who are looking to learn from us at DOT. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today, but especially the 6,000 men and women of New York City Department of Transportation who make this agency the best agency of transportation that any city has in this country. Thank you for your great job. As I reflect on the past 4 years, I keep coming back to where it all began for me. It was the small island of the Dominican Republic that we proudly share with the country of Haiti. I came here at the age of 18 from a working class immigrant community to work hard. But this country and this city welcomed me as it has welcomed immigrants from all over the world in the last 400 years. You know that one of my heroes, my team knows, is Mother Cabrini, when she got here in 1889, and she challenged those who are in power to provide Italian Americans the same opportunity that other people have. So that fight of Mother Cabrini stands today as we had to be committed to build a city of equal opportunity for everyone, those who came here 400 years ago, 100 years ago, or the asylum seeker that have arrived here, who only is coming here with one dream, to support themselves, to support the family, and make this city the best city in the country. If I made it, everyone can make it. But this journey has been a challenge one for me. It made my own life journey possible, learning from all the previous immigrants. What is so incredible for me is to reflect on it, and on it that after immigrating to this country, one of my first jobs was working as a taxi driver. As I was putting myself through City College, I couldn't have never imagined that decades after, I would be responsible for the very same streets that I navigate each year. And not thinking as a driver's car owner perspective, but learning from what I did as a driver and learn how we can share the streets because the street belongs to everyone. Another one of my early jobs was making sandwiches, turkey, bacon, and cheese, here at 55 Water Street in the cafeteria where Chase Bank used to have most of the floor. The very building where I have proudly led this agency in the past 4 years. I'm beyond grateful for this opportunity I have had. And while I have been proud to be the commissioner, I'm even prouder of the men and women of this agency who have made everything we have done possible. I'm incredibly proud that their work, their skills, their dedication reshape our streets and made them safer, better, and more equitable. Let's give them a loud, big round of applause. But I can tell you, it has not been a small task. This agency is responsible to manage 27% of the land of New York City, the most density city of the whole state of New York. New York State is made by 54,000 square miles, and New York City is only made by 350 of those 54,000 square miles. And we made almost half of the population of the state of New York. So everything that you do has to be think about how we share the space of different interest groups. Our agency is responsible of our streets, sidewalk, plaza, and other properties. We also manage 800 bridges and tunnels, 13,000 traffic signals, 300,000 street lights, and 24/7 operation of the Staten Island Ferry, the city's original free and fast transportation option in the city. Our most important responsibility is one, to keep people safe. This is why I'm so proud that traffic fatalities are on the decline and have reached historic lows. Over the last 4 years, New York City DOT has advanced a comprehensive, equitable focused strategies built on data to expand mobility, improve safety, and deliver on its Vision Zero commitments. From the launch of Vision Zero in 2014, when I was a chairman of the Committee of Transportation, working with the previous administration led by Mayor de Blasio, we did a lot of work on Vision Zero. And after a national surge in traffic violence during the pandemic, traffic deaths began to decline during our first year as a commissioner at the end of 2022. Then in 2023, we have the fewest pedestrian fatalities of any on record since 1910. In 2024, we saw a dramatic decline in cyclist deaths, including amongst e-bike riders, and this year has been one of the safest in our city history. While we have made this great progress, one day is too many for all of us. We have used every tool available to make our streets safer, and we have positioned the incoming Mandani administration to build upon this progress. So how did we get to this point? Over the past 4 years, DOT has installed a record high numbers of protected bike lanes, almost 90 miles, the largest numbers of protected bike lanes that has been built by any administration in the same numbers of years. This has not only helped protect the cyclists, but we know that when you invest in safe bike infrastructure, it also improves safety for pedestrians, drivers, and everyone who share our streets. In Soundview in the South Bronx and East New York in Brooklyn, new bike lanes keep riders and pedestrians safer with dedicated space, increased visibility, and shortening crossing. These upgrades have long been overdue in areas that have historically been underserved by transportation projects, mainly with community of colors. In Manhattan, new and wider bike lanes on 3rd and 10th Avenue support increased cyclist traffic and the growing popularity of e-bike. We are the first city widening bike lane in our country. In the 1980s, Manhattan's first on-the-street protected bike lane on 6th Avenue was installed, but later was removed after protests. Under this administration, under our time, cyclists once again have dedicated space to ride on 6th Avenue from Tribeca to Central Park. This year, DOT and our sister agency released Greater Greenways, a comprehensive plan that envisions connecting neighborhoods that were divided on the Robert Musil Park and business districts with corridors designed for micromobility, transportation, and recreation. And it's not just on paper. We cut the ribbon cutting on new greenway segments along the Harlem River in the Bronx, as well as along the East River near the Queensboro Bridge. As bike ridership continued to break records years after years, with New Yorkers taking 228 million bike trips in 2024. Let's put it in context. There was only 98 million bike trips in 2008. But today, the number is 228 million. It is clear there's demand for more access to cycling, infrastructure, and micromobility share programs. Because when New Yorkers bike, it's good for the health, it is good for the economy, and it is good for environment. As I was riding bike with the Minister of Transportation on Ireland, he was saying, a person who rides a bike half an hour every day live an average of 6 more years. So biking is not a luxury. Biking is a human right. From 2022 to 2025, we made it a priority to bring city bike docks to historically underserved areas in the outer boroughs, including South Bronx, almost Bronxville, East Flatbush, and Sunset Park. We also made bike share more affordable for NYCHA residents and SNAP recipients, providing them a 50% discount. And in the East Bronx and East Queens, we have provided new commuting option for residents of transit districts through our successful e-scooter share pilot with a strong safety record far. As e-bikes become a more accessible way to travel in our city, New York City DOT new Department of Sustainable Delivery aims to provide oversight to delivery app company and guide the safe expansion of micromobility across the 5 boroughs. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter, who is leading this agency, who is the mayor, in this case, Mandani. Every place where anyone from DOT will go, mayor or commissioner, they will hear from all sectors one thing, e-bike, electric bike. So we definitely have to, understand that this department is critical in order to provide support to everyone, to the essential workers, but also make the food ad company accountable. Because those workers, 100,000 of them, they are only essential one providing the services. The consumers put the pressure, and the food ad company make the money. So we need to be sure that we work together to be sure that, everyone is accountable, especially those ad companies. Alongside the establishment of a new unit at DOT, the agency also worked to address dangers of battery fires caused by uncertified e-bike batteries. We completed a successful e-bike trade program and laid the ground for the installation of public bike charging network. Some New Yorkers take the train or bus. Some drives. Some prefer two wheels. But many of us walk almost everywhere we go. On most streets in our city, pedestrians outnumber cars. And at DOT, we have worked hard to change how our streetscape support New Yorkers on foot. Over the last 4 years, we have pedestrianized a record of 1.5 million square feet of space on our roadway to improve safety for pedestrians and to give public spaces back to the community that needed the most. Again, that record started by previous commissioner, from Janet to Iris to Polly to Hank. Someone started in the past, but we just continue the legacy. And that number, so 1.5 million pedestrian space that we have built, is the largest one that also have been built in a 4-year period. In 2025, DOT completed a $330 million project to provide dedicated space for pedestrians on Queensboro Bridge. The conversion transformed the bridge south outer roadway to be pedestrian only, giving cyclists dedicated space on the north outer roadway. From Beverly Plaza in Kensington, Brooklyn, to Audubon Plaza in Washington Heights, a plaza, especially in Washington Heights, where Moisés Perez is here around. That was his dream when he used to be the executive director of Alianza Dominicana. Well, this week, we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting of the Audubon Plaza. As we keep building a street for the New York City of 2050, not 1950, we will continue to see safety improve and communities will build a stronger bonds, especially now, where hate being spread in this nation and in many parts of the society. We need to create common space where people come together and celebrate who we are as New Yorkers. We will change the culture of our streets. Our streets are not and cannot be only be used for the movement and storage of private automobiles. If not, ask a question to Shakira, who held a concert 2 years ago with 40,000 people at Times Square, a place that used to be only used for storage of cars in the 1980s. Streets are public space, not private one. Another way to do this is through New York City Department of Transportation's critical role in making public transportation a faster and better option. We are doing this by investing in infrastructure that speed up bus service, crucial work that must expand in the year ahead. New dedicated bus lane on 96th Street in Manhattan, Livingston Street in downtown Brooklyn, and along Hillside Avenue in Southwest Queens move from the 1 million bus ridership that we have in the city every day. In those particular areas, it moved nearly 300,000 daily bus riders. Those 300,000 riders will now benefit from faster commute to work, to school, to doctor appointment, or to see a family member. Late this year, the agency began one of its most ambitious bus projects, new dedicated bus lane along congested portion of Brooklyn's Flatbush Avenue, from downtown Brooklyn to Grand Army Plaza. And Eric Beaton is working 24/7 to be sure that we keep moving, advancing that project. Thank you, Eric. Alongside, give me 1 second. Alongside the implementation of the MTA's congestion pricing program, our work on new buses lanes and transit signal priority paved the way for the faster and more affordable bus network. New York City DOT has been proud to partner with the MTA to launch bus-mounted automatic enforcement cameras, a tool that keeps cars out of bus lane and keep our buses moving. This work is an extension of the nation's larger automatic enforcement network that is operated by DOT, including a speed camera and red light cameras. In 2022, New York City DOT successfully worked with legislators in Albany, and thank you, Ydanis Rodriguez, to expand the use of speed cameras 24/7. This expansion dramatically reduced speeding during overnight hours when fatal high-speed crashes happen most often. In 2024, we again successfully worked with lawmakers in Albany to expand the numbers of red light cameras to 600 intersections, with installation happening as we speak. That number moved from 150 intersections, which was the one that was only allowed, and in 24, last year we got that expansion to cover 600 intersections. This automatic enforcement helps us keep our streets safe. In these past 4 years, we also became the first city in America to use automatic enforcement to protect aging infrastructure. Engineers in the room, they will tell you, when they build a bridge, the life is only 90 years. After that years, major investment had to be made to keep the bridges in a state of good repair. And that's why in New York City, from the 34 10-year capital plan, $17 billion is dedicated to our bridges, because our bridges always have to be safe in our city. We install what is called weight-in-motion technology that use roadway weight sensors and enforcement cameras to issue violations to operate of overweight trucks. Nothing wrong with the trucks. Trucks are here because 80% of New Yorkers, they're placing an order once a week through Amazon, UPS, and FedEx, and 20% of New Yorkers are placing their orders 4 times a week also through app company. So they're here because we put the pressure on them. But we had to figure out a way of how to move our freight different. During the first year of the use of the BQE triple cantilever, we saw the numbers of overweight truck drop by 60%. Based on the success, we worked with Governor Hochul and our partners in Albany to expand the use of weight-in-motion to protect the George Washington Bridge, the Triborough Bridge, and other 4 bridges, both in and around New York City. That's why many cities across the nation, they're contacting our team to learn from us. Whether we are deploying new technologies or reimagining roads with the time-tested design strategy, we do it all to keep New Yorkers safe and on the move. At DOT, we took a bold look at the public spaces we all share to find ways we might open them up to new uses, and often car-free uses. Summer Street has been a feature in Manhattan since 2008. Great idea, great start, but it was only 8 miles. It only ran about 7 miles from Brooklyn Bridge along Park Avenue to 79th Street. In the past 4 years, we have expanded the program's days, hours, and its geographic reach. Now, regardless of their socioeconomic or ethnic background, all New Yorkers can enjoy the magic of car-free streets. This year, Summer Street expanded 22 miles across all 5 boroughs, and for the first time, the full length of Manhattan from Brooklyn Bridge all the way to Inwood at Dyckman Street. Now we partner with organizations like New York Roadrunners, whose representatives are here, to kick off Summer Street Weekend with fun runs and 5K races. Races that show even more New Yorkers what car-free streets can do for them. We have also partners, a co-producer with Bike New York for Ride Along the Route, as also we partner with them with a bike tour that happens every year. Thank you, Ken Baxiba, for the great job. With the Hub Open Streets and Plaza partners, we dramatically expand the New York City signature Car-Free Earth Day around Earth Day celebration. In 2022, when the agency began Trick or Treat, going out with their children should not be something that put the kid in risk. And that's why we came out with the Trick or Treat, where hundreds of thousands of children and the family enjoyed that day. But also we do El Día de los Muertos, the largest celebration of Dia de los Muertos. Those of you who have children and saw the movie Coco, you saw a lot that piece related to El Día de los Muertos in Times Square. We do the largest celebration, El Día de los Muertos, outside Mexico. But also we do Latinos in Times Square. Latino made 29% of the New York City population. And sometimes they live in the shadow, and they should be recognized. And as I'm the commissioner for everyone, as a Latino descent, my job, my role has also been to highlight the recognition of Latinos in this city. This is just one way we have transformed a street space into community space. During the pandemic, many New Yorkers developed a new relationship with a street space through outdoor dining. New Yorkers came to enjoy outdoor dining during the pandemic, and we wanted to cement it as a permanent part of our city streetscape. We worked with the City Council to pass legislation that made it permanent, and our agency stands ready to work with the council to make it even easier for more restaurants to participate, including expanding it year-round. We committed to work with the council. We committed to work, and all this is important for the new administration. And let's put a perspective about this. Before COVID, the dining out used to be the sidewalk program. There was only 1,200 sidewalks in the city of New York, most of them in wealthy community. Now we have overpassed more than 300 in our street that are permanent. Our outdoor dining program, Dining Out NYC, includes nearly 3,000 participating restaurants. Again, the largest program of its kind in the nation, and globally, we only compete with Paris. And that's literally the case. This is one of many ways we are showing how curb space can be used for more than just the storage of private vehicles. Another way we have done this is by using curb space to improve deliveries. We launched a pioneering initiative like smart curbs to reduce congestion, build loading zone, and updated parking regulation. And we also launched the city's first micro hubs to create central location where delivery trucks can unload cargo for more sustainable last mile deliveries. Together, this initiative can and will reduce truck traffic. Our public space must be designed to include everyone. Including everyone also means making our streets more accessible to all. Over the past 4 years, DOT invested more than $600 million to implement ADA accessible ramps at 185,000 corners citywide and installed 3,000 new accessible pedestrian signals. This year, DOT secured $40 million in funding and began implementation of universal bus stop seating, bringing seating to 8,750 eligible bus stops across the 5 boroughs over the next 10 years, so that every single stop in our city will have a shelter or a bench. Bus stop seating makes transportation more accessible for all New Yorkers. Sometimes a single place to rest or a beautiful public space is a welcome break from the hustle and bustle of New York. To make our streets more welcoming, New York City DOT art partners. Yes, there's a New York City Department of Transportation art departments with dozens of artists and community groups to commission art projects on NYC DOT property, often in support of DOT safety improvements. I have to say thank you to Jack and Angelique and the whole team that were leading that division. This effort grew over the last 4 years with a record total of over 150 new projects citywide and almost 275,000 square feet of painted asphalt art across the 5 boroughs. From beloved works of art to some of the city's most iconic landmarks, NYC DOT oversees it all. And I got to say, on this particular part, Tomas Garita also oversees, together with Julie, the art division, as Tomas and Kenny also are responsible for the Summer Street and Car Free Earth Day. So thank you to both of them for the great leadership that they have in this group. While we have brought art to our street, sometimes what we maintain is a work of art by itself. In the past 4 years, we completed a historic $300 million restoration of the Brooklyn Bridge, finishing a total of $1 billion worth of upgraded to one of the most iconic structures in America in the last 10 years. We removed harmful soot that discolored the bridge, added new grout, and installed lighting to its tower for the first time in its 142-year history. Look how beautiful it looks, the Brooklyn Bridge, right? In the Bronx, we completed Union Port Bridge, and in Queens, we replaced the Woodhaven Boulevard Bridge. And in Brooklyn, we also restored the world-loved Ocean Avenue Footbridge connection, Chipshed Bay to Manhattan. And I got to say that that particular project is the first time that it's doing in-house by our DOT bridge division. So thank you, Paul and the whole team, for the great job that you did repairing that bridge. And of course, New York City DOT is also responsible for the work that connect all these projects together by pavement. We have a benchmark to pave 1,150 miles of roadway each year. And New York should know that we cannot do it during the winter. So we also have limited time on when we can do our paved work. This agency exceeded the goal of every single year for the past 4 years. DOT also repaired nearly 600,000 potholes, and this so faster than ever. We made it on an average in 2 days. Our roads are better than ever, and if you are traveling by water, our ferries are too. DOT also commissioned 3 new ferries. The ferry new Staten Island ferries added to the fleet in 16 years, and the entire ferry fleet now run on 100% renewable diesel, a petroleum-free alternative for traditional diesel fuel. I always have to acknowledge, because as my previous role as a chairman of transportation, I passed the bill transferring the jurisdiction of Hart Island from correctional to park. And yet, in New York City, DOT is also responsible to provide the ferry from City Island to Hart Island, so that those that has a loved one buried there, 1 million buried being buried there, the largest public cemetery in the nation, is also connected with the Staten Island ferry. For me, that's one of the most compassion projects that I have worked, being sure that that island is not run by correctional, like a jail style, but it's run by parks, so that we can give dignity and respect to those loved ones that have the loved one buried in that location. We completed $45 million worth of upgrade to the St. George and Whitehall terminal. John, where's John? John here from the Bridge Division. Let's give John a big round of applause. He's the one who is in charge of our ferry. As someone who is the face of fighting for equity, equity has been one of my core values as a commissioner. As it was my core value as an organizer, core value as a teacher, core value as a council member. And I would die always fighting for equity. With one thing that we all should know, it doesn't matter how hard we work. We cannot promise that our grandchildren will live in a society where everyone will have the equal opportunity to work, where we will have a society of equal work and equal pay. There's a lot of work that still we have to do. But I can say that a lot of progress has been made at DOT addressing the issue of inequality. One goal I had was to make sure DOT contractors reflect the talents and diversity of all New Yorkers. That's why I'm proud that the agency MWB contracting increased from 11% to 37% of contracting dollars, the biggest expansion among all city agencies. In total, the 404 MWB firms received in these past 4 years from 22 to today a worth of $576 million of contract for both women and minorities. And yet to make a comparison from the previous year, 21, 20, 19, 18, the amount was only around $160 million. So we moved those numbers to the high rock with almost $600 million. And I got to say, I hope, again, that with Mike Gardner, who did a great job, but the future administration continue doing one thing that is important. There was no waiver to no one. That's what makes us the job more easy. During these 4 years, anyone who can say, can we get a waiver so that we don't have to provide do the NWB? The answer was no here. The answer was no, Michael Gardner, and the answer was no at City Hall. And I can tell you that I hope and I believe that if that will continue, we will continue seeing even expansion of more opportunity for women and minority, and even the MWB inside the NWBE, because in many cases, Black and Latino were left out of a low percentage. So we made big improvement. A lot of work still has to be done. And we expanded a street safety and infrastructure improvement project in priority investments area. These are areas that have historically been working class and historically underserved. And it's not just data. We have invested in a greater in-person presence in our community. That's why when I became a commissioner for the first time, also I made a commissioner in new borough, where every month I spend my day in one borough, coming back 5 months after, listening to the community, bringing the agency to the local stakeholders. We have prioritized inclusive transportation planning from local safety projects to major initiatives to reimagine the Cross Bronx Expressway and Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. We have worked with local community and diverse stakeholders to find solutions that meet the need of New Yorkers. Whether we talk about the smallest pothole repairs or work on New York's most famous bridges, I have no doubt our dedication to serving this city over the past 4 years has made it a stronger, safer, and a better place to live to all New Yorkers. It has been the honor of a lifetime to lead this agency, and I couldn't be prouder of our accomplishment. While I had the good fortune of being commissioner, the real heroes are the nearly 6,000 employees who work at this agency every single day. I have been inspired by the talents, the hard work, and the professionalism. They are the best minds in transportation in our country and some of the hardest working people I have ever met. I'm excited about the future of this agency in this city. And no matter what comes next, I know that this agency will be successful because of its people. So I want to end by saying thank you. Thank you to everyone who has answered the call to public service and worked each and every day at DOT to make our city better and safer. Thank you, everyone, who's been a great partner here. But I even been bullied because of my accent. And sometimes I don't even get the same time when they get interviewed because of my accent. I'm comfortable with that already. And I'm proud that Spanish is my first language. So you have to excuse me for me to say a few words in Spanish too. Para mí es un honor estar aquí. I only going to take 2 minutes. Para mí es un honor estar aquí en este reporte de estos 4 años de gestión, donde nosotros podemos reportarle a nuestra gente, uno, que hemos hecho el trabajo correcto, levantando el nombre, el orgullo de lo que somos nosotros, personas trabajadoras. Que hemos tomado esta agencia, la tomamos en el 2022 y en estos 4 años la hemos convertido en la agencia que ha proveído más contratos a negocios de mujeres y minorías. Segundo, hemos reducido el crimen, el más bajo que hemos tenido en la ciudad de Nueva York desde el 1910, cuando se comenzaron a recolectar toteras. Que hemos estado tapando los hoyos, que hemos estado construyendo líneas de bicicleta, que hemos estado cambiando la cultura, que hemos estado expandiendo los espacios públicos, que actividades como Summer Street, Car Free Day, no es algo solamente de la clase media y clase alta a través de Park Avenue hasta la 79, sino que ahora es en todo los condados, llevándola a todas las comunidades, independientemente del background económico, social que ellos puedan tener. Así que para mí ha sido un honor estar en mis 29 años de servicio, 4 de comisionado, 12 de concejal, 15 de maestro, siempre representando con altura lo que somos nosotros, personas trabajadoras. And before I end, I want also to acknowledge Fenioski Peñamora, who is here with us today, former commissioner of DDC, former dean of the School of Engineering at Columbia University, now vice president of research in the University of Monterrey, who also traveled here to be with us today. So, gracias a todos.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists who are going to be talking about New York City's future mobility needs and challenges. We'll start with the federal perspective with Veronica Vanderpool. So please, Veronica, make your way. And then we have... we're going to be hearing from Kate Slevin from a regional perspective. Kate, if you can make your way to the panel. You know, one of our most important partners is obviously the MTA, and we're going to be hearing from Midori Valdivia from MTA perspective. And you heard a lot about community and equity, and you're going to be hearing from David Scheffler as well. Thank you. And, you know, there's one person before
if you don't mind, let me, because I didn't mention him. My chief of staff, Ryan Lynch. Let's give him a big round of applause. Come on. I was going to make a speech.
I was going to make a speech about Ryan because he is the one person who you rarely see in the pictures. But I think he alternates between being the grease that keeps things moving and the glue that keeps us together. He's always behind the scenes hustling, making sure that we have everything that we need for us to do our work. And I think it has been a true honor to work with Ryan, Julie, Margaret. You know, there's like no ego between us. It has been a truly amazing. It starts at the top with the commissioner, but it really has been a pleasure. So Ryan Lynch, our chief of staff.
Thanks, Paul. Commissioner, I think you could join us as well. I also get to be the asshole on behalf of the commissioner, so excuse my language. He gets to be the nice guy. I get to be the pain in the butt. So it's really been an honor to be on this team. As Paul mentioned, there's no equals among people at DOT. We're all equals together. It's incredible. It's been the best job I've ever had in my life. Sorry, Kate, who hired me at Tri-State. But I'm really excited to moderate this panel. This is a panel of rock stars, people that I look up to every single day, and I'm really thrilled to have been asked to do this. Before I start, I wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the team that put this together. Paolo Ruiz, my Deputy Chief of Staff. Mark Cruz, where's Mark? It's our Special Assistant to the Commissioner. Anybody in IT, Vidilia, Rich Milano, and all the comms team that put together the books. You guys are all amazing. Everyone, thank you for pulling this off in a month. Really appreciate it. And with that, nobody wants to hear from me. We want to hear from the panel. So I'm going to just really open it up. I want to see how the commissioner set a pretty high bar this past 4 years. He kept us working, kept us moving every single day. But as he mentioned earlier, it's a continuous sort of baton passing. What started in the early 2000s has built through the 20-teens and into the 2020s, and will continue to grow. The commissioner often says that Jeanette Sadekhan, who was sort of the first DOT commissioner that really prioritized public safety on this, she built 7 protected bike lanes during her tenure, and those were some of the 7 hardest bike lanes that were ever built. And we were able to do 30 last year, and the team was able to do 30 because of her, because of Polly, because of Hank, because of Iris. And we really wanted to say thank you, that this is the point of this. This is a continuous growth towards a safer and more livable city. So we thank everybody. We stand on everyone's shoulders, and and whoever comes next will do the same. So eager to hear the perspectives of the panelists. I will first kick it off to, I guess, Veronica, if you want to just say a few words about transportation. Broad-based.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez. It's so nice to see everyone here, be on a panel with good friends that I've known for a very long time. So a few words about transportation, at least from the federal. Wait, are you asking me the question or am I just giving a...
Go for it.
Well, I did want to share some perspective from federal government. So until January, I was acting administrator at Federal Transit Administration. And, you know, there's a few things that I would say with regards to this particular moment in time. So states and local government continue to lead, right? US DOT eliminated the DBE program, but contractors and firms that want the work still have to meet New York State's DBE goals, right? Cities and states must continue to lead. Secondly, reduce your reliance on federal funding, but don't start applying for federal funds. So, you know, I think it's important to be innovative about the funding sources that are out there. So just last week, Federal Transit Administration released and awarded $2 billion in funds for low-emission buses and bus facilities, right? This current administration made a pivot away from electrification, but the money still went out to support projects that are low-emission projects, right? So don't stop applying for those funds. Just be thoughtful about your applications. Acknowledge and address that there is a change in priority in this current administration, and pivot. New York City and New York State know how to do that well, and particularly this New York metro region. And then, you know, I would encourage everyone to think thoughtfully about other innovative ideas, particularly around financing and funding, and thinking about, you know, the private sector's engagement and involvement. That ties into reducing the reliance on federal funding, because we don't know what grant programs will be made available. We don't know what other criteria will be modified or enhanced to current grant applications. So just, you know, think about innovative ways of engaging other partners in our projects in New York City.
Great, thank you. Commissioner, how have you sort of navigated the funding challenges that we've had, and what would be the recommendation sort of moving forward with the limited amount of federal dollars potentially available?
I just think that we had a great team here. Our grant division, and I can say that, and that's what it took me, you know, my good numbers of months to get to know every single member of this agency. We had to navigate what we have, like the piece related to, you know, how we handle challenges with grants at the federal level. That's going to be for the new mayor role, to use the leverage, to have a conversation with the U.S. Department of Transportation, the deputy mayor, so that will be overseeing operation. We played a role. Here at DOT, what I can say is that this agency doesn't matter who were the president before. If it was Bush, if it was Clinton, if it was Obama or Trump, first time and now, we always funding based on the formula. And I think that so far, we don't have a reason to alarm so far. We've been getting, you know, the regular funding, but any new change that will happen at the national level, I would say it's going to be mainly led by the mayor and the deputy mayor who will be seeing operation. And DOT will always be ready to work with whatever resources and challenges we will face.
Great. Kate, Executive Vice President of RPA, also my first boss in New York City, taught me everything about advocacy. So Kate, as a sort of like a big picture, regional-wide component, what are some of the big picture goals that should guide New York City's mobility strategy in the next few years?
Great. Can you hear me? Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Commissioner, for everything you've done. And thank all the folks at DOT. I was formerly at DOT for a couple years at the end of Jeanette Sadiq-Khan's tenure, so I know how hard you all work, and we appreciate it from the outside. I also wanted to recognize all of the advocacy groups in the room because I feel very strongly that nothing big and momentous happens in New York without an external voice and strength, and just the power of the external community in New York balancing out some of the negativity. So I just wanted to appreciate all of you, because I know many of you are here today. And I'll say it's a real honor to be on a panel with Veronica and Ryan and Dory and David and folks I've known for years. And I'm not good at most things, but I am really good at hiring people, it turns out. Because these guys have done great, and some other folks, I've just loved seeing them grow and change in their career. So I wanted to start off with a positive note. Just that we're sort of undergoing right now just a huge transformation in New York City in terms of transit and building transit. You think back 20 years ago, no one was talking about the IBX. Second Avenue Subway Phase 2 was still sort of, way in the future. The Gateway program was started and then it was canceled. So it's really exciting to just think regionally that these things are happening, and it's the MTA's capital program is fully funded at $60 billion, right? I mean, all of these things were sort of unheard of years ago. When I was at DOT, I was in charge of intergovernmental affairs, and we got the first authorization for speed cameras. And how many people know how many we were allowed the first year? 20, yeah. 20. And now there's 750 locations with thousands of speed cameras. So I think there's a moment to reflect here that a lot of positive things have happened, and we can't forget that. The world's pretty heavy right now. But thanks to the hard work and dedication of so many people in this room, really things have changed for the better. And I hope they continue to move forward on that path. I think it's just critical that the mayor and the governor work together. There's a lot of really huge issues coming our way. What happens with the Cross Bronx Expressway, what happens with the BQE, how the federal funding flows, and if it flows, all of the federal formula funds come through the state DOT, so having that money flow easily and actually come down to the city is really important. And obviously authorization for traffic enforcement cameras. I mean, if we really wanted Vision Zero in this city, having full authority there is one really, helpful way to get there. So we've been pushing for that at RPA. And if you don't know my organization, we're a nonprofit organization, and we do research, planning, and advocacy all throughout the region, the New York metro area, not just the 5 boroughs of New York. And we've been around 100 years, so we have that perspective. Some things we've recommended have worked out really well. And some things we recommended haven't worked out so well, and we're trying to sort of remedy the harms of those. So I think that's all I have to say. But before I want to pass it back to you, Ryan, I want to recognize my colleague, Tiffany Ann Taylor, who I know is here somewhere. There you are. She's our VP for Transportation at RPA, and she's represented on the Mondani Transition Panel as well. So happy to be here.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kate. Midori Valdivia is one of the leading voices on the MTA board, advocating for New York City residents and riders. Really thrilled that you're here today, but also is a leading voice on MWBE consulting, and would love to hear your perspective on how to build off the successes that the commissioner outlined, and how do we get to the next level for that, but also from your MTA perspective, sort of like what are some practical steps that the city and MTA could take to strengthen our coordination on projects?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, really happy to be with this cohort of folks. Thanks, Commissioner, for the invitation and for this event, and for all your work in the past 4 years. I think what's really great about this moment, even before we get into like the practical, how does the city and the MTA work together, is, wow, let's take a moment. We're about to have a bus mayor. And I'm like, wow. And I think so much, most of my career has been spent in transportation, and specifically probably the past decade, not only modernizing our subway system, but really uplifting the bus system as this like beacon of movement, freedom, but also resiliency. Right? We all know what happens when flash floods happen. Our buses are the ones that move, and sometimes our subways really struggle to move. And so when I think about like the the ecosystem of transportation is this really powerful moment. I think, there was this moment, obviously, under the Bloomberg administration with cycling and the excitement around cycling. I feel like we're at the precipice of that for buses, And in a way, I got a chance to work on the MTA side on the 14th Street busway. During this time, to not be named, called the L train shutdown that never happened. And when I was chief of staff for the MTA, to be able to help shepherd that on the MTA side was like so immensely rewarding, but also was very joyful at the end, like when all the TROs kind of moved away. And we had this moment of this busway being out there. So I just want to take a moment to say, like, buses, we are here. Can't forget about us. Buses, 5,800 buses, a $3.5 billion budget for buses. So that's huge. I think that's bigger than the DOT budget. And so thinking about that, how do we engage? How does the city engage with the MTA? I think that's been something that has, to a certain extent, eluded different administrations in the past. Some of it is going to be, of course, at the board level, the pressure that we can put as representatives of New Yorkers, City of New York. There are 23 board members on the MTA board team of the commissioners, and Veronica knows this well because, I helped staff her when she was on the board. Only 4 are representatives of the City of New York. And so that kind of mayor-governor coordination will be so important, like Kate said. When we look at the 34th Street busway, that's going to have to be coordinated. When we look at what happens with bus service, right, because we can do all the street improvements we want in the world. That's excellent. I know DOT can deliver on that, but when it comes to, what's the added operating expense to make sure we're running more buses and we're actually hiring more bus operators to meet that moment? Now, the MTA never loves it when I'm like, how are we going to add more to the operating budget to meet this moment? But I think those are some of the conversations we're going to have. There's so many points of collaboration. What's always eluded me about transportation in New York, and that makes it complicated in the region, is the deep fragmentation of transportation delivery. And I think in a way, the discourse around public realm reflected the deep fragmentation around governance for public realm. The same is in transportation. You all run and own the bus stops. You all run and own the countdown clocks, and the MTA runs the service. So you actually don't have much say on the service, but we should. The city needs to have a real say on service here. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities to build accountability for bus performance. 2 months ago, I brought up the mean distance between bus failure, which is MBDF. And so I think our DOT team, I would love you all to know more about how buses operate. I want us to go to the depots. I want us to talk to bus operators because there are real amazing points of collaboration and I know that already happens, and that is productive, but then it's how does operations work? Knowing more about operations will also help the city know what needs to change, what the ask should be, and I think that can be really well coordinated through City Hall. So we have, I think, an incoming City Hall that is going to put buses front and center. I'm really excited about that. But then I think DOT also has an opportunity to put more of a customer mindset on bus passengers. What happens if bus passengers are also DOT's constituency? And that's a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift we had to go through at the MTA. When I joined as chief of staff, people were like, oh, we move trains. No, we move people. I love it. We move trains, but we move people. So people need to feel good about their experience on the streets. So would love to engage in that conversation as well. On the MWB front, I want to ask the commissioner how he did it.
Before you get to that question, I wanted to ask the commissioner those are really good recommendations. So what has been successful in your perspective in speaking with the MTA or coordinating with the MTA? I know we do a lot of, Eric and his team does a lot on the staff level. Sometimes we have to elevate that to the leadership. So what have you seen has been the most effective way to engage MTA on that from a DOT perspective?
Yeah, I think it's creating space to work and plan together. I think that it benefited me that I was a chairman of transportation before being a commissioner. So in my previous role, I was oversight MTA, TLC, and DOT. So when I joined the agency, most of those street master plan, I passed a bill. I co-sponsored the bill because I was the chairman of the Committee of Transportation. So when they came to the MTA, I think it's about how can we, again, keep planning better, more consistent. I think that at the staff level, there's always going to be a great collaboration. But as you say, it's a governor, mayor, it's a decision from the top. Like, how do we combine the operation, the scheduling on the buses, and building the bus lane? How do we join forces, the city and the MTA, who the assembly member and senator are at the state level, but the MTA and us, I think if there's one space to grow a lot, is to organize better the way of how we go and approach the elected official. Because, again, I will say DOT is ready for Tremont, for Fordham, for Uptown Broadway. The thing is ready to do it. The question is there the political support for that to happen? So I feel that even though Eric Beaton, he will scratch his hair because he also had to deal with his staff, that they had to do all the work, but he will be ready. With Margaret overseeing that portfolio, I think it's going to be now moving forward. It's about being closer, coordinating together, seeing the scheduling and the infrastructure as one commitment, that when we don't leave to DOT, to the city only, the community engagement, use the leverage from the MTA perspective to speak to your assembly member, to your senator, because they respond more to the state level. And I think that if we are able to close those two areas more, I think that we can deliver much more. And I also want to acknowledge Keith from DCAS, who is here, a great partner. Thank you for helping us. And also Carlos, who oversees our NWB, also Maninte, thank you. And Kemuel Arroyo, who also used to be in Chief Accessibility for DOT and now Chief Accessibility for the MTA. Thank you for coming.
Great. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Midori, but go for it. Your question.
No. I know I was a chief of staff. I know what you have to do. But Commissioner, you're exactly right. And I think, what are the pressure points that the MTA will be responsive to as it relates to community engagement? That has been definitely a point of frustration for me and the MTA management, with all due respect. They know my points of frustration. It can't be all on city DOT. It can't be all on the city. There's so much the city does to provide both direct and in-kind contributions to the MTA. How do we make sure that we're getting that partnership as a city that we need? On the MWB front, though, I do want to commend. I'm a Latina-owned business. I do professional and technical services across the country. And it's to see that kind of percentage shift in the very small years is very impressive. And I'd love to know tactically, what do you think made DOT ripe for that kind of change? Because that is something at the MTA, and I'm going to give a shout out to Michael Garner at the MTA, that was such a huge focus of our Chief Diversity Officer. But it can be difficult to do that kind of change management. So I'm kind of curious about, you talked about the angling of, we're not going to give you a waiver. City Hall's not going to give you a waiver. The mayor's not going to give you a waiver. But how do you think that change was able to happen so quickly?
I think that for me, I thank God and everyone who influenced my life, who I don't know how they put me to think that I had the right to do things in a society where sometimes you are the only voice in the room. Sometimes where, I talk to my team here in the city, we have, progressive with privilege. If you live in the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side downtown Brooklyn, it's not the same for you to come and say, let's move this project in this area, when on the underserved community, they've been struggling, the voices that have never been heard. So for me, someone that came as an activist, probably arrested more than 50 times in peaceful civil disobedience. Someone that took over the City College campus in CUNY 89 and 91. So what I did was translating my knowledge, my experience, my value, my fire from the activism to be in the classroom, to push my students to be not only great professional, but to be someone committed to change society, to be the council member that challenged, when Bloomberg passed the first budget and the budget was not good for the city. I was a co-founder of the Progressive Caucus. And I was the one to push Bram Baker and Landers and let's hold the rally before the speaker spoke to talk about that budget didn't reflect the city. So I had never been disconnected for this value. What I've been learning is to translate those knowledge. So when I moved from being the activist, the teacher, the elected official, like I know what it is to be in the losing team and the winning team. I was in the losing team for my first 4 years. I didn't pass one bill. I only passed one resolution, the one when there was the anti-immigrant law in Arizona. So that was, we had to figure out civil disobedience, arresting in 55 in front of 26 Federal Plaza. So when I came to DOT, as Lee Manuel said, immigrants get the job done. For me, this was about one shot, one opportunity. I challenged my team. I say, I know what it is to be prepared with a talking point as a commissioner, to say what the council member, we need to hear. I know what it was in 22 when the first hearing came from the council on inequality, right? And I was told about, do you think that you should go? Should we send somebody else? Should we take this hearing? I say, bring it on. I want to have this conversation. So I know what it was to be working with the Nick Millers and many others, with the NWBE in the city, already preparing the talking point, sending commissioners to say that we're taking the necessary step and the number is moved on and the opportunities is there. And I said, not in my time. I'm tier 4 already. So I'm 60 years old. I was 56. I'm 57 and 25 years in service. I have my age already and I have my years already. So I didn't come to DOT more than to challenge my good friend or progressive at DOT. Say, guys, can we do more? Can we think outside the box? And I got to say thank you, because all of you embrace it. And to move, as you say, 4 years from 2018 to 21, $160 million to NWPE. And 4 years after, those numbers being in almost $600 million, doing the right things, following my lawyers, and always focusing on the policy. What did I do? I created the first time in DOT, something called, and I think that the photo is somewhere there, doing business with DOT. So in the doing business with DOT gathering, I brought those who've been certified, those who could be certified, the head of my division of DOT, because DOT is so big that it's like many agencies together. And you develop the culture. Like if you build bridges, you're responsible for 800 people. If you are Irina, and I'm proud as a father of 2 daughters, having the women, in charge of the roadway, in the city, but Irina run 1,600 men and women for the roadway. They had to have the day-by-day conversation with those contractors. We produce 50% of the asphalt, and we buy the other 50%. Let me put it this way. I have never been interested to meet with any of those that we buy the asphalt from. I leave it to Margaret for Johnny. Because I focus on the small places that I can make the difference. But when I do the doing business with DOT gathering, I bring those small ones, but I go with Nancy, who always read the line about this conversation. It's on the introduction. From there, I want her to follow with me, and you cannot follow with the commissioner. So having Nancy there, I bring the pride, no NWPE, to the room. And I say, guy, do you remember when you were a little one? Can you help us to accomplish the NWPE? And I can say, we've been able to accomplish these numbers together with no one being committed to sabotage me because I hurt anyone and doing the right thing. So it's about changing the policy and working with the great team, in this case, from the operation, Margaret and Julie and the lawyers. So I'm proud of this number. And I know that those hundreds of NWB that they've been coming, some of them they're here, some of them that have been coming to this annual conversation, and having a mayor that I know that he's committed to advance what we have done, I see a great future of even expanding to a larger number, because the budget of this agency is 1.5 for operation and 34 billion 10-year capital plan. And there's many areas that still we, the society, been saying that there's no opportunity for NWPE because that's too expensive, because there's no contractors. And I got to say, especially to the team from who will be playing a role with the Mandami administration, that's one area that we had to push and change it. Many areas of big business doesn't include NWB, and I think that we had this opportunity to make a difference in that area. So.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Commissioner. And one of the first lessons I learned as DOT Chief of Staff was whenever I calendared anything for the Commissioner, it was General Counsel, ACO. In every single meeting we met with a contractor because the Commissioner was like, we're doing this right, but we're going to do it with an equity lens. And also my hairline is a testament to his adamancy of being in the front of the council all the time. David's one of our incredible partners in our open streets and all of our programming, and we really wanted to make sure we had a great perspective of the people that are sort of interacting with the agency on a daily basis. Every time you step outside your house, you're dealing with DOT. But David leads an organization that is an incredible partner for us, and really wanted to kind of get his perspective about what can we do better. You know, we've dramatically expanded open streets, summer streets, programming, but we want to continue that into the future. So, but it is often difficult to navigate city agencies, especially as a partner. So we really wanted David's perspective on some of that. So for David, what does real community-centered engagement look like, and how are we doing, and what can we improve upon?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this panel. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm humbled to be with a lot of my mentors and folks who I've spent a lot of time with over the years, shaping my transportation analysis and creating the space for folks in my neighborhood to be very effective. So a little bit about my organization, and hopefully I could, through sharing my experiences, connect to the question. But we're a multi-service agency that provides services in immigration services, after-school programming. But most recently, actually over the past 20 years, a lot of our work has been focused on revitalizing underutilized spaces, right? In the 90s, that started from cleaning up the Bronx River, removing cars and tires out to be a real oasis where people go and visit. So if you could get a chance, go out and visit the Bronx River, you'll see a lot of our work that we've been able to accomplish. What that led to was actually the building up of our waterfront, right? Looking at waterfront parks and adjacent properties that needed to be revitalized. And we did that through parks, and we did that through DOT, and we did that in many different ways. And I share those experiences because that then led to, the creation of greenways and a huge transportation project that led to $1 billion of infrastructure coming into the Bronx, most recently supported by you, Commissioner, and the City Council, and as you as the Commissioner at DOT, the Hunts Point Access Project. Which was really huge, and I preface that because I'm gonna come talk about the Cross Bronx Expressway, which I think is 50 times larger than what we were able to do in the Sheridan and the Hunts Point Access Project. So I'm excited about DOT leading those efforts because I think there's going to be some huge impact. But I wanted to highlight, most recently, we've been managing two public plazas, the Morrison Avenue Public Plaza, which is like a $9 million construction that has led to the creation of an open street, stormwater mitigation, a whole host of other benefits. But, in addition to that, what we were really able to accomplish was creating a community in which, our business owners, residents, passerbyers really found a space to congregate and sort of be with each other. And we actually believe that community-centered planning starts from the beginning. And DOT has been, over the past 4 years, and I really commend your agency for what you all been able to do in the context of the larger administration, right, being caught up in a lot of legal battles. Your agency, we've had a very successful year as a local community-based organization, launching 2 public plazas, open street, being involved in the reimagining the Cross Bronx work, as well as participating in the art and the public art program. So for us, DOT has been attentive, responsive, and at the core of our work. So I want to thank you for that. But also, the planning process has been really iterative, right? Like, so we've been able to share out our ideas, but then also hear back from DOT the incorporation of our ideas in those plans. And then the last piece of the community planning process that I appreciate DOT is connected to is the signing off, right? In the past, again, I have a long history of working with city agencies, and sometimes our communities have been steamrolled by our plans, right? Sometimes not even being considered what our voices are heard or being shared out. So to have an agency that is not only taking our feedback, but then sharing it back to us before the sign-off has been a very important part of the process. So I just want to commend DOT for doing that, providing the community-based organization with some resources to continue to do that work. I can support my staff to be able to work directly with community residents has also been tremendous. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, David. I have one question for the commissioner, and then I want to open it up to brief kind of Q&A. You just sort of provided a very large kind of background of what we've done over the past 4 years. As a commissioner, you come in with a vision, you want to accomplish that vision, and oftentimes you have to hear, as someone that has to tell you no sometimes or tries to tell you no sometimes, how do you break through the no? How do you get to a yes? We talked a lot about the accomplishments, but what are the most sort of the best practices to kind of figure out to get to a yes, as opposed to hold on, we got to take a step and figure this out. What is your kind of like lasting recommendation on how to get to a yes?
Well, first of all, I try to go outside and get a lot of yes, because in my house, my 2 daughters always told me no. Trained by her mom. So empowering them, it's like, no, government's like, we can give you like a politician, people in government answer, or I can give you the real answer. And many times we don't want to hear the real answer. We don't like to have uncomfortable conversation. And we still, I always say that someone, and I always say immigrants since the 1980s, but everyone here, Irish, Jewish, Italian descent, Black, Asian, Latino, our family been coming here for the last 400 years. So we all had a family originating in other places. I think that when you saw the movie, The Great Debate with Denzel Washington, and you saw the scene of a few people who they was like 10, 11 years old, those people are CEO in company. Those people aren't sitting in places. Those people are designing policy behind a desk, and they don't know how to connect with the other people who doesn't look like them. So I think that government is like, I can give you, thank you to Paul, to you, Ryan, the whole team. I have developed patience. The first thing that they told me was about be happy and celebrate every single accomplishment that you have obtained. And that's why we bring and TA who are here. This is like a marriage between, the advocate group, Family for Safer Street, and the agency, because the agency can go out and take credit for the expansion of the street camera 24/7, but you spend days and hours and family meeting with the legislator and with you, we will not be expanded. However, we don't have to take the fire. When you criticize us, we have to defend ourselves. So, we have to do our job, right? So, but I think that, one, learning to celebrate our accomplishment. Second, to understand that DOT is an agency that is the only one that has a newspaper, the Street Black, that is dedicated to go just after the agency. I love them. Like, they make me, stronger. But that's a job. There's another agency that have a team of people yet dedicated to do that. That's one. Second, there's a building Congress, the group from Queens, the Queens Power is an institution that's in the 8th coach. They were taking for a signal, a street light to be installed in front of the center. I went there with my engineers. A light signal is not installed because the commissioner went out and said, go and do it. We need to follow the federal standard. So when the engineers went to that corner, they came back and say, the numbers of pedestrians and movement doesn't support to have a signal. I went back with Margaret, and we worked with the engineer. We spent like 2 years. And after that, I can tell you, I think that Margaret told me only Janet did it one, and I did it one time too, that I overpassed the recommendation of the engineer. Because the engineer recommendation was we don't have to install a signal there. But when I went and saw the faces of hundreds of senior citizens, knowing that their life is in risk, I took the challenge. I'm not going to be a commissioner that declare war with my engineers. I love my engineers. That's why I only did it one. So, you know, we have to navigate government. And a lot of the things that we do is based on federal, state procurement. What I have learned is also focus on the quality, not necessarily the quantity. Ken Batsiva was back there. And Ken Batsiva and TA, we met when we were talking about, you know, Dennis, about the numbers of bike lane. And I was open. And I won't go back to the council and say, no, the street master plan is not possible to do the 30 miles unless the council is on board. Because the council during my 4 years was not the same council when I used to chair the committee of transportation. At that time, I had Rafael, Antonio Reynoso, Mike Levine, Steve Levin, all of them pro-pedestrian and cyclists. The council that is ending now have been more a pro-car culture. So now it was a challenge for DOT to get the council to go to the middle. So I think that, again, what I have learned is about focus on what I can do. When I met with TA back in New York, I said, can we focus on the quality? Yes, we want to do the quantity. But since we have challenges, can we focus on those areas like those bus lanes that I mentioned? And then be happy what we can accomplish. I mean, it's more focusing on the policy, focusing on the process, focusing on what we can do. Because this agency is still the relationship between the city DOT or the mayors and we connect are based on agreement 150 years ago on how we interact and how we decide work that has to be done on the ground. And I think that, you know, we can be proud of the work that we have done, but still much more can be done. But procurement and process have to change in order for those to accomplish more things.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. I want to open it up to Q&A, but while we're identifying, I want to ask a question. Veronica, real quick for you, as a federal perspective, going into the next admin, what's one thing that we can adopt in New York City that other cities have done that you think is most impactful?
I think we need to be more thoughtful about development and transit-oriented development. Other cities around this country and in North America have really leaned in with their policies. They have social policies, they have housing policies, they have transportation policies. And it may have some of you scratching your heads because New York City is dense, right? But we cannot continue to do development in cities like New York and Washington, D.C., at market rate luxury housing only. There's so many opportunities to work with the private sector to introduce other uses, other affordable housing, other services that the community needs. Just to give one example, Denver, Colorado, the voters there passed a ballot for a light rail project to promote transit-oriented development. Think about that. They wanted to support transit to advance transit-oriented development. Many of us see TOD as an afterthought policy. We need to put it at the foreground, and there's so many cities around this country that are doing this incredibly well. And it does reduce the reliance on federal funds when we're introducing private sector partnership and collaboration that is true partnership and collaboration.
Thanks, Veronica. I want to open up to 3 or 4 questions, just given time. So Paola is walking around with the microphone if anyone has any questions. If not, there's coffee and tea. And
I have to just project. Oh, there. Okay. Thank you. Hi, my name is Luciana. I work here at DOT. I've been here since 2019. I'm here currently as a future leader. It's an actual program that's here at DOT that encourage the next leaders of the agency. I work currently in physical, and I actually was a part of the commissioner detail. We rode the elevator in together. First, I want to thank you all for being here. And when I sat and listened to you, what kept in mind for me, what Veronica, when you were speaking about innovation, David, when you're speaking about basically representation of the neighborhoods and making sure that we are seen. But my question to you all is, where do you see the future of diversity with the climate that we're in? So in the next 4 years, when this happens again, we would still have a diverse panel that are boots on the ground in the neighborhood that knows the history of what's going on from each sector, especially when you spoke about the contracts. In physical, I work with the P cards, so I see the vendors, I see the payments, and I've seen over the last couple of years the uptick with the vendors being used for the MWB, and it is inspiring, but how do we keep this momentum going and keep the diversity of the panels looking the same and still being able to report back years after years of what's going on?
I'm happy to speak about this. Luciana, right? Thank you so much for that question. I think it's really important. So one, I don't know if this is news to anybody, but transportation, it's 80% male. The MTA has always hovered about 19% women, the MTA, and so I've been a really big champion for diversity. I do want to shout out, I don't know if Tiffany and Taylor is still here, but we actually co-founded a Women of Color network in transportation and climate infrastructure, so I'd love to invite you to come and join us. It's something that in my career I've really been passionate about because the rooms I've been in are not the rooms that look like this. So this is kind of a unique space. And I think recently I kind of complained to somebody that, wait a minute, I feel like we're turning around the clock here. Like it's okay to have manels again. And I think I am frustrated, about what's going on with the federal government, especially when it comes to the threats to MWBE and the issues we've had and the fact that it's going to go to the Supreme Court pretty much, right? That being said, our value as an MWBE and our worth and our work does not go away because despite labels changing, I don't think it goes away. And so I think there's a real space, and I know the value of, leaders in New York who really care about this issue. I think a lot of it's just keeping pressure on, right? I have been a person that within my own agency I've organized, right? When I was a young person at the Port Authority and when I rose up and saw that I was consistently one of the only Latinas in the room, that was unacceptable. And how do we think about hiring differently? How do we think about actually setting up employee resource groups, which I know was done at DOT, that hadn't been done before in agencies? These are things that the corporate sector, the private sector have been doing for decades, but the public sector hadn't. So I think one is putting pressure from the inside, making sure that there is building solidarity amongst, particularly I can only speak about my experience as a woman of color, as a Latina woman, building solidarity and resourcing each other and support when it comes to how to elevate ourselves and how to make sure that we are being seen. Second, I think similar for the MWBE community, I think we have come together and try to figure out kind of what's next for us. And we've had champions, people in Chuck Schumer's office have reached out. We do have champions who want to see this preserved and thinking about it, but it's about leadership. If leadership don't care about it, then you're going to go back to kind of the way it was. And so thinking about what does leadership look like that center people and who know that at the end of the day, agencies are nothing without their workforce. And so, and at the end of the day, at MTA, we say like, okay, yes, we're the board, but we know who moves New York, right? We know it's the employees that move New York. And so building that solidarity amongst each other at the staff level, having that direct access and engagement with leadership on things that you're seeing that's not helpful in the organization, making sure that there are actual true promotional pathways instead of just lip service. I think all of that has to be important, but it can't just be one person. It's a collective effort. And that's part of why I was interested in starting the Women of Color in Transportation and Climate Infrastructure as not necessarily an industry space, but more of a resource for each other. So we're having a holiday party, so hope to see you there. But to say, okay, there's 50, 60, 100 of us. How can we support each other? What problems are you having? What am I engaging with? How do we work with senior leaders, middle management, middle career, and also early career folks? How do we make sure that they are equipped with the lessons of, kind of senior management? So I hope you join us, but it's a journey and we're all in this journey together. So thank you.
Great.
Can I just say one
Sure.
thing too? I mean, I'll also say, like, all the white people in the room, like, come on, guys, this is our really stand up for what we believe in, right? And not leave it to the people of color to take on all of the responsibilities. So we really need that to show leadership. Yeah. So I just want to say that.
I think that's the revolution of our generation, and how not to be comfortable, to be the only one in the room. And NWP is one, but when you go through agency, I cannot be comfortable to be in the floor and everyone being Latino because it's Latino, or everyone is black or everyone is white, or everyone is Asian. And we still are dealing with those realities. Like the Few Good Men, the movies of Jack Nicholson, when he can say you cannot handle the truth. It's a reality. And I told my students when I was 15 years teaching, 4 of them that they were the best friend. And sometimes they started having the issue. And I said, Ydanis, can you help us for us to stick together? And she doesn't want to tell me the truth. I say, sometimes you cannot handle the truth. Watch the movies Cabrini, based on the real life. And Cabrini demanding the Irish American who were in power before the Italian and say, remember that when they used to call your name. Now, I demand that 50% of the job that will be used to rebuild the building where her body is at 187 in Fort Washington must be done by Italian. God, that we are not separate from that time today. Like sometimes we have built, Giovanni Williams say that many times we say we have a broken system. He said, no, we don't have a broken system. This is a system that benefits some people and left others behind. So I can say, I want everyone to pledge to your heart that you will be someone that if you have the opportunity to be in leadership, even though today you cannot have those conversations about equity, and sometimes people, they don't even want to be associated because of fear. But you have to make your own decision. What is the legacy that you want to leave? When you turn 90, if you die by age, what did you build? And no, segregation is not over because we changed the law. We still have a structure where people are not moving, where people are not seen, where there's no equal opportunity for certain group to be in leadership. I'm proud of the work that we have done, and I think that DOT right now has turned to be a role model, but I can say it's a big challenge that still requires a lot of work to be done across all agencies, across the city, and across society.
Great. I think, Jim, real quick, because I know we have to get some people out of here, so Jim, go for it.
My name is Jim Burke from the 34th Avenue Open Streets Coalition. And DOT's been an amazing partner. But my question, I'm also a member of Riders Alliance and Transportation Alternatives. And all of us in the room have worked together to make this city much better. But it can be undone by one parked car in the bike lane, in the bus lane, at the bus stop, going through our plazas, going through our open streets. I would love to know your advice to the next administration. How can, because all this hard work we do, blood, sweat, and tears to get these amazing 14th Street busways, the Main Street busway, all across the city can easily be undone. What's the answer? How can we move forward and not have our work undone?
I think it's one of the values that we have as an agency is the value of continuity. And that's why it doesn't matter where I went in these past 4 years. If I went to speak among my colleagues, if I went to DC, I went to Morocco or Poland, I always talk about how this agency is built, respecting the value. And I think that my goal is that the future administration continue taking further where we are. And I feel that New Yorkers already have enjoyed. When New Yorkers enjoy the Summit Street from Brooklyn Bridge all the way to Dyckman, I know that the new mayor has speak loud and clear that he's for open street, he's for public space. And I think that under his leadership, I don't have fear that we will lose anything, but I have hope that we will continue taking this further.
Great. I think that's, we're going to wrap it up because we have we have to get another group in here. But I wanted to say thank you again to our panelists, my friends and colleagues. And I want to say a particular thank you to Ydanis, who's, I came in here as the chief of staff, as an employee, but he's become a friend and he's passionate and champions all this, and look forward to that work continuing at DOT. And thank you again for everyone coming here. Have a great day and a happy holiday.